Welcome to New Stripe City, a YouTube channel for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and we're here to talk about the Bengals' second scrimmage and some of my key takeaways from tonight and what happened. I think going into the scrimmage, there was a lot of excitement being that Joe Burrow really had a lot of success in the last one. I think throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns. This one was a different type of environment because he actually was inside of PBS on the field. And obviously, this had more implications, but there are several notable things that needed to be said. I didn't see Auden Tate tonight. I'm not sure if he was out there or not. We were only able to listen to the scrimmage. We weren't able to actually see what was going on, but it did seem like the feed that I was on was a little ahead of others that I saw tweeting on Twitter. I don't know if it just took them longer to write the tweets down or what was going on there. But Joe Mixon was out. John Ross seems that he did sustain an elbow injury that we kind of heard about last week on Twitter. So it seems like that elbow injury is real. No telling how long he's out from, I think, what Lap said. I think he said that he hyperextended that elbow. So it's possible that John Ross could miss some time. One thing that was notable that I noticed was that the connection between Joe Burrow and Tyler Boyd is immaculate. I think if you're looking for a player where he's going to be in a pinch where he's going to go to, I think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be Tyler Boyd. So I think that I was good with that. Obviously, we also talk about some of the other weapons that were out there. He had DeMarcus Lodge out there. He had some other guys out there. Mike Thomas is a guy that's really come up a lot. I think Mike Thomas really makes this roster. He has another connection with Joe Burrow. And then we've also seen T. Higgins. We saw T. Higgins tonight. He actually got some reps and was able to come in. Now, the running back position was extremely interesting. This is something that I've been looking forward to seeing and analyzing because with Joe Mixon being out several practices, and Joe Mixon also was at the scrimmage after missing several practices due to migraines, but he was there. But what I wanted to see is who was getting those first team reps with the team. So I'm not sure if Gio was actually there or dressing, or if he barely played. I think he might have barely played. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I was looking forward to seeing which one of those guys, when it comes to Samaje Perine, or whether it comes to Trevion Williams, or whether it comes to Jaquez Patrick, which one of those guys would really separate themselves, because there's low-key a battle going on there. And you guys know me. I'm a big Jaquez Patrick guy. I tried to tell you guys about him, and I actually have had a previous relationship with him where I did some business with him. I used to have a custom shoe business, and it was kind of cool because guys from the FSU team would reach out to me. And it just so happens that he was one of them his freshman year there. He's just a big dude, big, massive dude, a great guy. He was always cool. So I'm hoping to reconnect with him so I can get him on the show and try to get an interview. So Jaquez, if you're watching this, I know you remember me from Tallahassee. I used to do your Jordans and all of that. Be sure to hit me up. You can find me on Twitter at New Stripe City. But my hope is for him to get on the team. And while I spent time there, I did my research on him, knowing that he was a big recruit from Florida. So he was a former 5-star guy coming out, and he was one of the top running backs in the state of Florida. He's actually from Orlando, where I live now. So this is a guy to really keep an eye on because he realistically can do that. And then you also talk about his time in the XFL. He's a very talented guy. Him and Auden Tate already knew each other. A similar kind of story coming from, even though it's coming from 2 different positions, they're both guys that were big athletes. They're both from Florida, Central Florida to be specific. I believe Auden Tate's from Tampa, but they're cool. They know a lot of the same people. And then you also talk about how Auden Tate had to make the roster. He had a lot of talent, but he needed to learn special teams. It also seems that from Jaquez, that's kind of a question mark, and they want to see if he can do that. And if he can do that, that's going to give him an advantage of making this team. But one thing that really stuck out to me tonight is that he did end up getting reps with the first team. Before that, it was a lot of Trevion Williams. I would probably say, I wasn't there to see it, but it sounded like Jaquez kind of outplayed him. And in the crunch moments, in the crunch times, it seems that he was in. Now, there was a play on that last drive where he was stopped at the 6-yard line, but Lap made it seem, from what I was listening to, that there's no way that guy would have stopped him at the 6-yard line. I think he assumed that Jaquez would have lowered the shoulder and possibly have gotten into the end zone. But that stuck out to me tonight. That was a focus for me, is where that running back position is going. Another thing that I like that I heard tonight is it seems that Joe Burrow favors going to CJ Uzoma in terms of the tight end position. He did hit Drew Sample as well, but I think a lot of people kind of jumped out there and said that they thought that Sample would essentially kind of overtake Uzoma as Burrow's favorite target. And it seemed like Burrow went to CJ Uzoma a lot. In retrospect, though, that means that there could possibly be an issue with the linebacking core. That was one thing that kind of stuck out tonight to me as well. Didn't hear much about Josh Bonds. I'm assuming that he didn't play, but did hear a lot about Logan Wilson, which we expected to be a solid guy. Seemed like he was in the backfield. I think he even had a sack on one play. He seemed like he was all over the place. It seemed positively that Logan Wilson stood out. Heard Akeem Davis Gaither's name mentioned. Didn't hear it in terms of him making a play. So I'm not sure, not to be negative or anything, and not to say that this really stands for him, but didn't hear much about him. Didn't hear much about Marcus Bailey either. And you guys know that that's my guy. But from what I did hear, it seemed like I heard a lot about Logan Wilson, a lot about Jermaine Pratt. Seemed like Pratt made some pretty good plays in coverage. So this linebacking core is definitely going to have his work cut out for him. One of the most exciting things that I heard tonight was that Khalid Kareem ended up getting some reps on the first team defense. It seemed like he may have started, and it seems like Lapp really likes a lot of the flexibility and what he brings there. And, we had him on the show. Going through and watching his highlights, I definitely think that he's a guy to keep an eye on, especially when we have those situations where Carl Lawson or any of the defensive ends might be banged up. This could be a guy that could come in. Sam Hubbard really stole the show, I think, on defense in terms of that line. Sam Hubbard had 2 sacks, possibly 3. It's hard to say. I think like Zim just said on the show, it's hard to tell how this translates to the regular season. But Sam Hubbard, I would bet the bank on that guy. I think that he's going to be in line for a 10-sack season. I really do believe that. That's one of my hot takes. I will come out with a video on that. Ryan Finley seems cemented at the quarterback 2 position. That's much to my chagrin. I really felt like Jake Dolegala should really get a look, but it appears that the staff doesn't feel the same. I mean, well, maybe we're too high on Jake than we really should be. So it seems like Ryan Finley, as it seems that he took all of the snaps, is really cemented there. William Jackson III, from what I've seen on Twitter, seems to look good. It seems like the constant message has been that Will has really stepped it up this season. Obviously, he's in a contract year. I also think that Burrow, even though some of the pressure got to him, he did a great job of avoiding the pressure. I think being able to scramble away and still make passes and still move plays forward, I think is crucial, especially with our offensive line. And then you also talk about the fact that he's able to confirm that he can make changes at the line. We did see that. And speaking of the offensive line, Michael Jordan, it seems, has taken a step. So Michael Jordan is coming along. And I just think overall that even though the defense won the scrimmage, and you might not have known that, but if you're listening now, the defense did win the scrimmage. I think that it showed how solid this team is on both sides. Now, from what I've seen, there's numbers all over the place. Some people say that Joe Burrow threw 2 touchdowns. Some say that it's 1. It's hard to really say, but I believe he was about 15 or 16 for 29 or something like that with 2 touchdowns. I still call it 2 touchdowns because some people say that he had 2 touchdowns to Tyler Boyd on the first drive, or I believe it was actually the second drive. And then on a later drive, he had 1 to him as well. The first one they said was possibly negated by a potential sack. Hubbard felt like he had a sack on that play. It's hard to say. He did have an interception that was negated. I think that it was rightfully negated because what happened on that play was that it appears from what I heard that Von Bell kind of caused Mike Thomas to stumble, who was the intended target. And as a result of that, Jesse Bates ended up picking it off. Now, it was a weird play because essentially what should have happened is the Bengals should have converted that and ended up having another chance for Joe Burrow to throw yet another touchdown. But it seems as if they realized later that it really was defensive pass interference and reversed it. So it was kind of a weird situation. But me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Ryan Finley. He threw an interception today. He really should have thrown 3 of them. 2 of them were dropped by Tony Brown. So Definitely exciting to see that this defense is coming along. These players are coming along. AJ Green was out, didn't play. Joe Mixon was out, didn't play. Not sure if Auden Tate even plays. So hopefully in this next scrimmage that's going to come, I believe, Thursday, we actually get to see these guys play and get to see what they're going to do. Because from what we've heard, all indications are that AJ Green will be playing at least in the final scrimmage. So we'll get to see him with Joe Burrow. We'll finally get to see, hopefully, Joe Burrow with all his weapons. Now, John Ross probably sits out of that. It seems like he dressed tonight, so it could be a possibility that he does play next Thursday. So we'll have to see, because he did dress, although he didn't play. And, I mean, I totally understand that with them and his history of injuries. There's no reason to put him out there. But really, we just wanted to come to you guys and give you a recap. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave me anything in the comments. Please sure to share this with your fans. And, hey, I appreciate you guys showing this channel some support. And I'm going to be sure to come back with some more videos. So be on the lookout for that. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also turn on the notification bell so whenever I go live, you guys do get the notification. But as usual, I'll leave you guys with a who day all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.